Last month, we went over the import dialog. This month, we're going to go through the development module. But before we do that, at the end of the session last month, some questions came up about collections and how they could be used in the workflow. So we're going to address that first. We're going to quickly go through and import some photos. We're not going to take any time on that, and if you need a review, you can go back to the videos that we've uploaded on the website for the previous month. And then we're going to talk about how to use a collection to help you select your photos. First, let's look here at collections and how are they different from physical files in your file folders. You can think of collections as virtual folders. They really don't exist on your file system. So if you went in and looked at some of these and looked for them in the file system, they wouldn't have to be there. They can be different than whatever the file system is. How does that help us? Well, it helps us in two ways. One is if you delete something from a collection, it is only deleted from that collection. It does not affect the underlying file system. So that photo is still there. So it adds a bit of safety. The second thing is your photo can appear in multiple places in a collection, but only physically reside one place on the file system. And that is what we're going to use to help us with the workflows. This workflow I'm going to show you is dependent on how you structure your folders and collections. So let's look at our folders first. I have 3 folders under My Images, which were created last month. The first one is Animals, the second one is Still Life, which we used last month, and we have a third one called Street. Well, under Animals, I have a captive animal and a wildlife animal category. But under captive animals, I'm going to split that up further. If I go to the zoo and captive wildlife, I think that's different than, for example, pets, which is what we're going to be importing today. Remember that the folders here in this panel mirror exactly what's on our hard disk. So now that this looks good, we need to move down to collections. And for this workflow, we're going to make sure that I have the same collection sets that I have physical folders. So I have an animals collection set, and I have a captive animals collection set, but I don't have a collection set under it to match pets. So let's create one. You can right click and we can say create collection set, and we're going to call this collection set pets, and it's going to be created inside captive animals. So let's do that. So now we have pets. This point I should talk about collection sets. Think of collection sets as folders. They do not contain any photos. Only collections can contain photos. So this is a way to organize in a folder-like structure, and we happen to make it mirror what's on our physical drive. So I need to add one more collection set under the collection set pets. So I right click on pets, create collection set. You can see that it's going to be created inside the pets collection set. Right here I'm going to give it the name of my download, which is going to be Memphis Humane Society. And if you remember last time I used a reverse date. This was done on the March 20th. So there we have it created where we're going to put our actual collections. So let's get started now with importing some photos. Okay, we're on the photo import dialog now, so this is going to be a review, except for one little twist we're going to add about collection. So first thing I'm going to do is go to my preset that I set up, and down here where right up here where it says add to collection. This is going to be something new that we didn't do before. So I'm going to say add these photos to a collection. It really doesn't exist right now, so I'm going to say add the collection. And it says, do you want to add it inside the collection set pets? No, I really don't. I want to add it to this collection set, which is Memphis Humane Society and the date. And I'm going to call this full shoot. And it's going to add it inside that collection set. So I'm going to create it. And there it is. Okay, going down to our file renaming. If you remember how we did this, I just repeat where I put MHS, the date, I'll just go ahead and copy this. And this is going to be under animals, captive pets is where I want this folder to be created. So I'm going to paste that in there. So just to recap a second, when it renames the files here, it's going to use basically my download folder name, and it's going to start numbering the files 1 to whatever. And I'm going to put it in this folder. And I have also created a collection set that I'm going to put all the photos imported into something called Full Shoot. So we just hit import. Okay, all the photos are inputted. And if you noticed over here in our collections panel, it says Full Shoot and it shows 7 photos. Now, the Kelby method, it appears that he doesn't delete anything. He just goes from full shoot and goes forward. But I like to delete photos that are not going to work at all. If I take out of focus photos or pictures of the ground, things I know I'll never use, I want to delete them and get them off my hard disk. And if you look up here, there are a couple of photos where the cat's not even looking at the camera. Well, I'm not going to be able to use that. No, it doesn't matter what kind of post-processing I do. I'm not going to be able to salvage that. So one of the things I do as part of my workflow is I go through my photos and I use the X key, which is set as rejected. So I'm going to reject those 2 photos. And before I do any more workflow, I'm going to go up here to Photo and delete rejected photos. So I've had 2 that I marked as rejected, and I'm going to say delete from disk. If you just say remove, it removes them from the Lightroom catalog, but it leaves them on your disk. Well, I'm never going to use these at all, so I'm going to say delete from disk. Okay, so those are gone. Let me hit the G key for grid, which takes you back to the grid view. Okay, the next step is we're going to add 2 more collections under here. So right click on the collection set and we're going to say create collection. Now notice here under options that it says include selected photos. So the selected cat would get into this collection, and this is not what we want just yet. We want these collections to be empty. So uncheck that. Go up here and I'm going to name one pics. Create. So we've got pics right here. Right click again, create another collection set, and I'm going to name this publish. So I've got full shoot, pics, and publish. The idea being that we're going to come through our full shoot, select the ones we think that are candidates to work on, to be developed, and then out of what we develop, we're going to pick our finals, our hero shots, whatever you want to call them. The reason I say full shoot, picks, and publish is because alphabetically it lines up, and it just looks right to me to go right down the line and see them. Okay, so the first thing to do is what are our picks? What are we going to develop? What I'm going to do is use the pick flag, which is the shortcut P on your keyboard. This one, it's head on to the cat, but the cat's got its ears back. It looks scared, so that's not a real good one, so we'll move forward. This is a pretty good shot, so I'm going to hit P here, and you see flag as pick, and you'll see the white flag down here. And I'll move to this one. This is another good one. I'm going to pick that. This is pretty good. It's a side shot, but he looks interesting, and so we'll do that. This one, not so much. For argument's sake, let's say we don't do that. So let's hit our G again, and you can see out of our 5 photos, there are 3 that we had the pick flag on. Now I want to move those to my pick collection so I know which ones I'm working on. Now you have to imagine that there's a lot more photos, and your picks would be scattered out among hundreds, if not thousands, of photos. So what we would do to gather them together is go up here to the attribute on the library filter, and you can see there's some filters up here. Right here are the flags. If I hit filter based on the pick flag, it puts all of them together for me. So if you had hundreds of images, you would have them all of a sudden gathered together. So let's get them into the picks collection. All we do is select all of them and just drag them right down to that collection. Now I have a collection with nothing but my picks in it. So let's say that I've already worked on these, and that the 2 that I've decided to publish are these 2. So let's select these, and again move them down into my publish collections. And now I have the 2 that I had gone through the development module on and worked on them and decided these are the ones that I'm going to send to the Humane Society for publication. My hero shots. So what's the point of all this? It takes longer to explain it to actually do it. But what you do is, I will now work in collections only on this shoot. I won't ever go back up here to the folders. And as you can see here, the last folder here is our complete shoot folder, which there's no such thing as full shoot, picks, and publish under it. But this is the physical file system and how it's looking. In fact, I could close that and never address that again and work in collections. So there's 2 things. If I accidentally delete something, it still exists where I imported it. Nothing's changed on my physical file system. But the power of this is having these pictures repeated without actually duplicating them and moving them around in an organizational structure that makes sense to you, and so you can easily go back to any particular shoot, look for the ones that you worked on, look for the ones that you published, or a lot of times we might find a new processing technique and go back and rework on these set of photos. Well, that's it. What we're going to do now is move into the develop module.